Hi, in this video we're going to learn about mass percent, and the idea is we can use the molecular formula and the molar masses to figure out what percentage of the total weight each of the elements is in a compound. So for example, if we had a compound like copper 2 sulfate, okay, sulfate has a -2 charge, copper would have to have a +2 charge, naming stuff, yeah. What we would do is we would need to know, to figure out what percent is copper, what we would do is we would take the total amount of copper, which is just 1, divided by the total weight times 100%. Okay? To get the percentage of sulfur, we would take the mass of 1 sulfur, because there's only 1, divided by the whole thing times 100%. And to get the percentage of oxygen, we would do the same thing, except there are 4 oxygens, so 4 times oxygen divided by CuSO4 times 100%. This is not real difficult, but it's definitely tedious. So, first things first, let's add up the molar mass of this whole thing, because we're going to use that number 3 separate times, we might as well just write it down and have it somewhere. So copper is 63.546 if you look at the periodic table. Okay. Plus sulfur, which is 32.066, plus 4 times oxygen, which is 15.999. I'm just going to round everything to 3 decimals. It'll give us more than enough sig figs and we'll be okay. And our total mass is 159.608. So just adding up molar masses like we did on the previous video. And then to figure out the percentage of copper, what we're going to do is we're going to take the mass of copper divided by the whole thing times 100%. Copper, we just looked it up, was 63.546 grams per mole divided by 159.608 grams per mole. Those are going to cancel out. We'll end up with just percentage as a unit. So what we're going to do is take 63.546 divided by the answer that I just calculated, times 100, and I got 39.813%. The problem is there really aren't sig figs here because none of this is measurements. What I always tell people is get at least 1 decimal place on this. So this would be 39.8% copper. Okay, and then we do the same thing for the other two. So for sulfur, we would take 32.066. The units are going to cancel out, so I'm not even going to bother to write them down. Divided by 159.608 times 100%. So 32.066 divided by 159.608, it equals times 100. And I got 20.1% sulfur. Okay, then we're going to do the same thing for oxygen. So we're going to take 4 times 15.999, which is the value for oxygen, divided by the whole thing, times 100%. So 4 times 15.999 is 63.996, divided by the whole thing, times 100%, and I got 40.1. So what this tells us is that this compound is 39.8% copper, 20.1% sulfur, and 40.1% oxygen. These should add up to 100%. If these don't add up to 100%, you probably miscalculated something somewhere. Okay. Honestly, what this also means is if you have 3 things that you're solving for, as long as you get the first 2, you could just add them up and subtract them from 100 to get the third one. All right, thanks.